Good morning, everybody. This is Diggs. It's another beautiful day out here in the Pacific Northwest, and today we're going to be talking about limited guild raid battle. We're going to be talking about some tips and tricks that are going to be able to help you. We're going to talk about each specific fight, and we're going to be talking about what you want to bring. Let's go ahead and dig in. Now, you will notice that there are 5 different fights and they are escalating in difficulty, but difficulty is not the only thing that they kind of escalate in. They actually all kind of have little different features, little different tricks about them that will kind of make everything either more difficult for you or harder for you. For example, Glacial, Ifrit, and Diablos are all immune to Steal Time. However, Steal Time is going to be an absolutely viable strategy for the Kraken, and it's also going to be a viable strategy for Ramuh, who's the hardest one in the batch. You also have a variety of 10 different difficulty levels. You can do this by going into any of the fights here, and you do have access to trial battles, and I have been doing the trial battles today, and let me tell you, they are a lot of fun. So you have a range that you can select down here in the lower right hand corner, and you can go from round 1 to 10. Now, it's important to note that there are essentially 3, really more like 2 difficulties. You have round 1 through 3, which is kind of like easy mode. If you are a newer player out there, or you're in a newer guild, round 1 through 3 are designed to be easier for you. So when you enter into round 1 through 3, you actually get an additional AP plus 60 on all of your units starting out. And you get that damage cap increase of plus 10,000 that applies to all of the rounds. So if you are a newer guild, if you're a newer player and you're like, oh man, I don't know if I can, keep up. I'm not sure I can help my guild out as much. Don't be discouraged, because especially in round 1 through 3, you are going to be able to kind of put out some damage. You're going to be able to chain, and you're going to be able to do things kind of pretty easily. Now, in terms of formations, Glacial in particular, I found that, testing out between Mono Dark and Mono Fire in terms of going against Glacial, I found that there really wasn't that huge of a damage discrepancy if you were trying to play things right. I think where the kind of big damage comes down is going to be the type of formation you bring and the type of strategy that you involve. For example, in this formation right now, you can see that I have Ruin Stern, Dwayne, Stern, Venera, and Black Rose Helena. It's absolutely possible that since a lot of these characters have multi-hit attacks, for example, I have Stern with multi-hit, I have regular Stern, Ruin Stern, I have Venera, right? It's quite possible that taking Black Rose Helena out could actually increase my DPS overall, because Ruin Stern might get a chance to use another double attack, or Stern may get another chance to use all of his triple trick. So you're really in a situation where you have to decide, right? Because you only have 20 turns each fight. You have to decide, there might be situations where bringing 4 characters without that 5th vision card is actually better than bringing 5 for your account, because that 5th might just take up turns for you. So a lot of this is going to be chaining. It's going to be kind of lowering status ailments together, right? You have Ruin Stern here. Ruin Stern lowers defense. Dwayne lowers darkness resistance. Stern lowers slash resistance. Venera lowers defense, right? Venera also has self AP generating abilities, so you could put bells on another unit, right? So there's a whole bunch of things here that are kind of synergizing into one, and you really just kind of have to decide kind of what is going to be right for you. Now, there is differences in each of the fights, and we will pull up WoTV Calc here, and we'll start talking about these differences because we do have kind of information from the JP side on what they are. One thing to note here as well, we will go over the initial formations as well. I do find that some of the maps actually favor certain TMRs more. So what you'll actually find is, for example, on Glacial's map right here, you can see that the entire initial formation is along the bottom side. That's going to be a really good kind of setup, for Medina's TMR, right? You're going to be able to give the acquired AP buff. You're going to be able to give attack and magic. Or if you're running with a different element composition than, say, Dark, Let's say you only have earth or something, right? Or you only have water, and you're able to run a scholar in here that can do like earthen evocation or one of these kind of earth attack up or water attack up or elemental attack up buffs. This is going to be really powerful for that. So make sure you look at the formations of all the different fights, because you might be able to make a little something happen with the magic here. Looking though further at Glacial, pretty much the only thing you have to worry about is going to be the immune CT. There is not really, you can land sleep on Glacial. I'm not sure that's going to be the kind of go-to strategy for him. Unlike, Ifrit, when we get to Ifrit. Ifrit actually, you can't steal CT from him, but you can land slow on him, right? So that's going to be a really pivotal strategy for people who are wanting to maximize kind of their damage to Ifrit, would be to land slow. So there's kind of these little nuances between all of these fights that are really going to help out. And pretty much the big difference is going to be the HP cap. So you can see that Glacial kind of caps out at 1,250,000. When you're going up against Glacial, you're going to be, getting your defense lowered. You're going to get magic resistance lowered. But there's nothing too much to worry about. The black mages do cast sleep here. But honestly, if you bring a fire unit, you're really just going to be absolutely fine. I think I one-shot all of the ads and most of the fights with like just a side AoE to swipe them out in round 10. So really, the ads are not going to be a huge problem. You'll probably take them out in one of your AoEs. Let's go ahead and jump to Diablos here, the other null CT immune character. You can see Diablos is also very similar to Ifrit. I'll pull Ifrit up here. Both of them are going to be susceptible to slow. So the one thing that Diablos and Ifrit have in common, they are both immune to CT, and they are both susceptible to slow. So for Diablos, for Ifrit, you're going to want to bring some form of slow. For Diablos in particular, he does cap out at 5 million HP. You do want to bring confusion resistance. I would bring that is just something where, if he does get confusion off, that could really mess up your run. So just make sure that you bring some form of confusion resistance. It is a 30% chance to inflict confusion. So, again, that's not a 100% chance to land confusion on your units, but you would want to play it safe rather than sorry in this situation. Taking a look at everything else and looking at the deployment here, Diablos' map is another map where you are going to kind of really benefit from TMRs or buffs that are going to be area wide. You're going to be able to pull those off really well. There is a couple initial placements that are way up at the top here. And to be honest with you, I haven't figured out if maybe an optimal strategy would be to put a unit up there. I'm not sure that is an optimal strategy. It very well might be, but it's just something to think about, where if you're down here, you're able to buff up. Maybe you put units up here to land debuffs and breaks on the enemy. It's really going to depend on your formation. The Ifrit raid does not have any status ailments you really need to worry about here. What you do need to worry about with Ifrit, though, is the wide range of your party members. This was a situation where I found running some units that have access to high movement, like Venera and Stern, were really important. You'll notice that Stern was in my dark formation, and that's just because Stern has the capability to move in really quickly, Venera as well. So make sure you have units that can get in. When I was initially testing out water composition versus fire composition, I did have Aerith over here on the far left side, and what ended up happening is just Aerith couldn't move fast enough. She just could not get up here. I was like, oh my god, Aerith, get in range. And like the ads blocked Aerith, and it was just like an absolute hot mess. While we are talking about my water composition though that I was running on Ifrit, I do want to point something out here for a lot of people, that like if you don't have an optimal dark team or like a dark slash team, you can chain single elements if you have the advantageous element and hit damage cap relatively easy. I was running a water formation with Aerith and with Summer Elsorel and Tidus, and it was just kind of a hodgepodge of water formation units. But I was still chaining and hitting damage cap, and it actually came on par with my dark composition. So again, you know, you could probably run either composition and be just fine. I'm sure the tryhards out there are probably going to be running, you know, a optimal water formation, but I almost wonder if an optimal formation will actually just be as many multi-hits as you can get with as many debuff resistances, as long as they are water element attacks. I think that's the, you know, if you are going for like one focus against the enemy, I think a lot of people are going to be running single element and kind of going against them. And if you are in like a situation where maybe you only have Dark Slash, talk to your guild, be flexible. I mean, you are by no means, you know, alone, and I'm sure they can say like, you know, you got Dark Slash, you know, you go Ifrit or something, and the rest of us will take on Ramuh, for example, right? In terms of the Kraken, he is going to cap out at 1.5 million HP. You know, nothing too remarkable for Kraken. He's a little weird. He can inflict blind. That's kind of all he can do. He's not the scariest. I'm pretty sure, you know, important note too with Kraken, the Kraken is an aquatic type and Glacial is a bird type, so do keep that in mind for your Esper choices. But Kraken is really kind of a no-brainer, and you can see here the deployment as well kind of favors a tight-knit cluster. And if you know, I would say the Kraken is probably the closest to like a traditional raid. If we do have one, you could probably get close to autoing the Kraken if you really wanted to. So Kraken, of course, is going to be pretty easy as well with, you know, lightning slash units like Cloud. It's just going to be, he's just going to melt. Ramuh, he's of course the last one, and he caps out at 6,250,000 HP. He also has a lot of agility, so he caps out at 87 agility, which means you are going to have to steal time on him, decrease his agility. You know, you're going to have to do something if you want to maintain your chains in a pretty steady way. I did run Earth Slash against him, and I was doing, you know, bonkers, tons of damage, especially with GL Zun, Ketone, and I was running Moraga, because don't forget, Moraga does have access to Dream Within a Dream. But, you know, overall, he didn't scare me too much. It was mostly just kind of surviving his attacks and surviving the damage that was being dealt to me. And that really, you know, at the end of the day is not as crazy as it seems. So, you know, all in all, not the craziest. I hope you guys are excited for this. If you're looking at agility, Ramuh caps out at 87. Kraken caps out at 58. Ifrit caps out at 82. Diablos caps out at 83, and Glacial caps out at 80. So keep all of this in mind. Have your Steel Time units ready. Make sure you have slow ready and accessible. And when all else fails, just frickin' Dark Slash it. Thank you so much, everybody, and have a great rest of your day.